All right, so here we go. The first project for our Discord server is going to be, like I said, for welcome and rules. It's going to be a message like this, and when you react to it, it's going to give you a role, level 1, so that you're allowed to speak in the server. So the first thing you want to do, go in here, not there, there actually, server settings, roles, and then you want to turn off the ability for people to speak without the permission. So that one, turn off that, save, done. Then you want to jump into whatever code editor you're using. You want to install the Discord.js. And actually, my bad, I'm going to do npm init. First, it's going to initialize the project. Going to give you some information about what it is. We can just enter through it, like so. Not Dreamcat, Rocket Cat, there, MIT, the software. Anyone can copy me if they want to. Now, npm discord.js install. I will install. Take a few seconds. Then we're going to install Typescript also as a dependency for development. Typescript, because we're going to be using some TypeScript in this, just to keep the code a little bit safer. And if you're scared about that, TypeScript is almost exactly literally JavaScript. There's only a few small changes to how you write code. We're also going to do it globally, npm global install. That's what the G stands for right there, so that we get the THC command, which we're going to run real quick here. And then we're done. Right into the code. Create a file here. Text.ts. Okay. So type.ts. First thing we do is import the library. So the library is just all the functionality that has been pre-programmed for us. Then the first thing we need to do is create a client. So the client is essentially, imagine that what we're doing is we're creating a reference to literally a graphicless version of Discord. So anything you can do with Discord, you can do with this one here, more or less. In fact, I think you can do more. I'm pretty sure there's something that you can that you can't do. Some things you can do with the programming here that you can't do with through the client actually. Okay, so with Discord, how you usually program, or the most things you're going to be doing is through events. So Discord has a lot of different events. The first one we want to be looking at is the ready event. It's going to be called whenever it is actually logged in. So we're going to call login. We have our token in here. And so when that is done, it will be calling this function and saying, hey, man, I'm logged in. So we're going to do that just so we see it's actually running as we want. I'm driving. Okay. So the first thing we need to do is we actually need to go get this message ID so that we then, when we react it, we can make sure that it is the correct message being reacted to. So we're going to go ahead and do that. First thing you want to keep in mind is that the client is like the user or the client can be in multiple servers, right? The bot can be in multiple servers. So we actually need to go and tell it which server we want to be looking for this message. So I'm just going to go ahead and find the guild that has a name equals to green pocket. Okay. Like so. Then we don't know if we actually find it. We need to check that. If it's undefined, we don't want to continue. And BR. Okay. So now we have a reference to our server here. So we're going to go on ahead and find this channel here, welcome and rule set. That's going to look like this. Channel equals to dreamrocket.channel.cache.define. And so, and this right here is just a function that is called a lambda function. It's essentially just a naked function. So we're passing it a function that is going to tell it what kind of criteria or rule we have for how to find the channel we're actually looking for. Again, so undefined. Throwing error is just, hey, if this doesn't work, if it's undefined, we don't want to continue with the program anymore. Find channel. Right. Next step is we're just going to go ahead and create a variable. We're going to have a global variable called use MSG ID equals to channel.last message. This is giving me an error, 2 errors actually. The first one we're going to solve right here. Create use. This one is thing. This right there is the first part of where JavaScript and TypeScript is actually separate. In TypeScript, you have to actually define the type, and that has a lot of advantages. One of the advantages is that you can actually see if you're passing something to a function like this, pass something, and I have just a variable called x. You don't see what you want x to be, right? It says x is implicit, it's just any. Okay, and that's not good because then your friend might be trying to call your function myfunc, and if he or she doesn't know what x is, so they're going to have a bad time if they pass a number to a function that does calculations. That's not going to work. The second error is going to introduce us to the second concept in TypeScript. That is typecasting. So when we're finding this channel here, it does not really specify what kind of channel it is. It just says guild channel, and guild channel can be either a voice chat or a text chat. So we have to tell it that we expect to either get a Discord .text channel or undefined, possibly if it doesn't find it, then that error is going to go away. And how do I spell this correctly? No, wait, what? Right, yes. So we're going to solve that later in a few seconds. Then we're also going to make another check here. We actually, this part right here is just making so our typing is working correctly. So it knows that last message is part of the channel type. The other thing we need to do is also to make sure that we haven't made a mistake, or like down the road somebody changes this so that it's no longer a text channel. Then we want to say, hey man, you need to change that back or something. Channel has to be text. Okay. And then on the channel, we're going to check if channel.last message equal to null. In that case, again, we're not going to continue. Stop the program. Let's just use script. That should work, in my opinion. Message, yes. So it's actually going to be ID. ID there. Yes, so now we have that set up. Let's try to get a demo when it's working. The other event we're gonna do, I'm actually gonna go ahead and upload some kind of tutorial on events right after this if you don't know what an event is. So we'll see that, but I won't go into it too much here. So message reaction or user. So we don't have to give these types. As you can see, it already knows what types these will be. It says Discord message reaction, and it knows that the user is a Discord user, or that's what that is. That little partial user, because someone has gone in and defined this event and said that we expect you to give us this kind of function for this kind of event. And that's one of the benefits of Typescript. You can actually define so other people will know. Like I said before, I know what these two types are going to be because they have specified that they expect a function that then expects these two parameters. So yeah, we're actually going to go back a little bit and make a small change, because if we do not do this part right here, it will not work in Erlang. The reason for this is because imagine if you, every time you had so essentially we need to cache these messages before they can actually trigger these events. So if this is not cached, it will not be able to see us reacting to it unless we add this part here. It's saying that if you notice that you have a partial information of the message, we still want you to run this function. So it will still run it now, but then it is on us to actually cache it. We're going to do that if it's partial. So if message reaction partial equals to true, then we're going to fetch it. Otherwise, we would have had to fetch it somewhere else. I just find this a bit more satisfactory of a solution. It gives more predictable results. So let's see, it's going to look like this. I'm going to do a try, await message reaction MSG reaction dot fetch. It's going to go ahead and go and fetch that for us. Since we're using a sync, we actually need to, since we're doing await, we actually have to have a sync here saying that, so we can use the keyword await, which is basically saying, hey, to our body here. So imagine you have a body, or let's do this more scientifically. So the CPU has multiple cores in itself. It's essentially layers on layers. So this command is actually telling one of the cores of the CPU to go away and fetch something, and that's fine if we wanted it to be quick about it. But in this case, we actually need it to go fetch it and then come back to us before we do anything else. So the wait keyword is actually saying, we're going to wait for you before we do anything. If we did not wait for it and then try to do something with the message data down here, which is what we're going to do, then it's going to be mad at us and say, hey, you don't have the data yet. So we're actually going to wait for it. And then it's giving us an error here. It's saying that, hey, you can't use promises or blah, 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 if you do not use ES250. So we're going to go make a quick change in the ES config. We're just going to say we are using ES2020. It's going to be fine. Going to be happy. It's going to be happy. Be happy. It's not happy. Don't mind that. It is correct. All you need to go and do it is to go into tsconfig. So tsconfig right there. Change that to at least ES is 2015, but I might as well do it. So, okay. So the try and the catch is essentially saying that if this message throws an error, we want to catch it and try to handle it. And in our case, we're just going to ignore it. If it there's an error for us, we're not going to bother with it. We're just going to say, yeah, don't bother them. So moving on, we're going to now when we have the message, we're gonna check if the reaction message.id is equals to that one we saved before. It's the same. Then we're going to console and log if the message. Okay. EDC HT or TypeScript compile. It's not going to give us any errors because, like I said, this is not an error. We have told it that we're doing it ES 2020. So now let's start it up. Let's do. You might have noticed that before we did not have this one, index.js. Now we don't, and then when we run it, we're going to get an index.js like so, and then that is what we're going to run. So you might wonder, yes, so you might wonder why even use TypeScript. And the reason for using it is it's going to, JavaScript is a bit of a weird language. Sometimes it's fantastic often, but it's a bit weird sometimes. And TypeScript is just going to add a bit of extra security. Also, it's going to optimize our code when it can. And it's going to do something that looks really weird, honestly. I'm going to try to use it. Here we have our weird mess. As you can see, it's kind of being squished together. That is because actually when you're this is being incorporated live, like literally it's going to run through this and read every single line. That is what the scripting language is, reading this, right? Meanwhile, not the scripting language is going to compile it down to ones and zeros essentially, and it's going to run as fast as it possibly can. Meanwhile, if you have a bunch of like then it's gonna, it's gonna be reading that because you have it there. So things like that and all this stuff is gonna be optimized in a way which is good, and it's gonna add like an extra layer of security. If you for some reason decide to not want to write in TypeScript, then you should most certainly have, like you see, it adds for us. You want to have this right here at the top of your file. It adds that for us because it knows that's what we want to have. But if you write plain JavaScript, then you should write that at the top. It's just going to make sure that some silly things that is the silliness of JavaScript is not going to go unnoticed, which is kind of weird. You have to tell it that. That's kind of why I'm writing TypeScript there. Yes. So the last thing I added here is because I don't want to be showing you guys my Discord token, I have decided to use a environment variable, which is going to make it so that I can actually write this code without having to edit it too much and hide my token stuff or change it later on. So I have to install the types for that, so it actually recognizes that that's a thing. So I'm going to do types node. You don't have to do this part, it's just so my error here appears. This one is gone. It's gone. Cool. THC TypeScript compile done. Node index JS. This I'm live-ing. One can see that when we react with something, gonna since root is reacted to the root message. So great, that's what we want. So now we're going to set it up so that it actually gives the user a role. That's quite easy actually. So I'm just going to extract that function out another function and say give and do user level 1 and define it down here. And I like to keep my code a bit cleaner. Like so. The user and the level string. This is a type string, and this is a type Discord or Discord partial. You see? So we got a user, but what we're actually looking for is a member. So a user is just someone like anywhere ever in the server place. So what we need now is to get a Discord member, and right now we just have a Discord user, and the difference between those two is that a user can be more like in the DMs. Meanwhile, a member is someone a part of a server. So it's not that hard. We're just going to get the Dreamrocket server again, and then we're going to check for its members. So the first thing I want to do is I'm actually going to extract the functionality of getting the Dreamrocket server into a separate function. If you ever find yourself duplicating code, then you should probably extract it to a separate function. So I'm going to go up here, grab that, and then we're going to get the bucket. Go up here, down there, return DR. And yeah, so we don't have to write that twice. Right. Now down, we're going to get the members session. Find actually it's going to be a bit different. We're going to get members dot resolve user ID. Then we're going to go ahead and do member dot set roles dot add level 1. Okay. So again, if we want to set level, yes, yeah, if it actually is existing. If not, then then we're gonna go ahead and get the level 1 row, which is gonna exist on the DR server. Rows capture time our row r.name with return. And then again, great. So that should be it for the most fundamental part of the code. I know it's actually removed the error by now, so I realized that I'm always right. Usually when I'm getting errors like that, it's probably because I'm done something wrong, but sometimes I'm right. So score 1-0 humans this time at least. So now I don't have any role here, and I'm gonna react with anything really. Thumbs up, and now I got my level 1 role. So that's great. That's the most fundamental part of the code. We're also going to do one more thing though. We're actually going to add another global, and when you do globals, you usually write them in all caps. And generally you should avoid doing globals, but if you do write in all caps, emoji ID with a string, and now we're gonna go ahead and get that right there. All right, we're gonna go ahead and on the DR, we'll go ahead and get that emojis. So emojis has names as well, and the name of emojis are whatever you put in between the two of these. So this emoji is called Dream Rocket. So this is the name of it. Between that one and that one, that's going to be its name. Emojis, right? So now if emoji find all right, last thing then we're done with this awesome first project of ours. We're just gonna add a and here. So that is meaning and both things has to be true. The emojis ID equal to emoji ID. Save that, compile it, run it, and then it's gonna be more like we wanted to. Now I don't have any role. Let's do it with the thumbs up. Not good enough. You have to do a rocket emoji. It's not working either. Oh yeah, because I have the okay. Let's start it. And again, thumbs up. Nothing happening. Dream rocket. Alright, let this be a valuable lesson to y'all. Mistakes are okay. Again, third time's the charm, right? Thumbs up. No level. Rocket. Not level 1. What is happening? What is happening? So, here's what's up. I ran across this error before, and I think I told you guys about it in the live stream I did, if anyone watched that. And yeah, so essentially, just getting the last message like we did before, we did it like channel last message. This was what was annoying to me last time. When you do that, it is kind of weird. Somehow it kind of seems to be messed up. If you start typing a bunch of other stuff like that, then remove that. I'm getting weird errors. So don't do that. Just do this instead. Okay. Use that code to get channel.messages directly, limited to 1. So you just get 1 message. The last one, then you'll get back an array. You'll just take the last message that's been sent, check that it's not undefined, and then set that to ID. So now it's working. If I run that, I remove the level role. And then when I react with that, thumbs up, it's not working. And then when I react with the rocket, now I got level 1 role. So yeah, awesome. That's how you do that. So yeah, if you're creating anything cool, please join the server and share with me. If you're kind of curious, the level system, what it's about is essentially that I'm going to be creating the questing system so that after each tutorial, I'll have little quests. So you can show what you've done, you can level up, you can do the quest, you can get experience and do quests with your friends and all kinds of cool stuff. That's steady at least. And so that's kind of where I'm heading with this Discord tutorial thing. So that's going to be coming out real soon. Hope to see you guys join me.